Dude, you're looking good.
Appreciate it.
How's things been for you?
It's been all right. Been all right. Just been busy traveling, and I mean, good as it can be with all the COVID stuff going on, but
Yeah.
just trying to get to as many as we can right now. So it's kind of a little bit different year this year, but
Yeah.
for the most part, it's been all right.
Where in North America are you right now?
I'm in Weatherford, Texas.
Wow. You were just traveling for 3 days on the road, give or take, wasn't that? Just
Yeah. We were driving from Corvallis, Montana, all the way down to Weatherford. So it's been 25-hour drive. We spread it out over a few days, but yeah, for the most part, it was a couple long days on the road anyway.
Yeah. Does it take a few days to recover from those long drives?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we try to, if we've got time, we try to space it out enough that a guy can still get a full night's sleep and it's not too bad. But when you're doing the overnight drives and all that, it gets to be where, yeah, it definitely takes a few days to recover from that.
Right. No. Now, what is like a workout routine that you're doing right now to kind of stay fit during training and whatnot?
I mean, for me, honestly, I've been pretty lucky growing up in the hockey world that I had a lot of good trainers and worked with a lot of good trainers over the years. I kind of have my own routine and I've built up enough information over time that I kind of have my own workouts and I don't really follow a lot of other people use, trainers and personal trainers or workout programs. And I mean, I use a lot of that too, but I kind of formulate my own workouts and just try to get out. A lot of times we won't have gym to go work out in or something like that. So, have a few weights and a few bands and just get out of the truck and do something on the side of the road if you have to, or throw a football around and just get the body moving. But for the most part, it's kind of just doing what you can. And then when you get somewhere where you can get into a gym, just taking advantage of that for sure.
Oh, for sure. Now, how did you get started in bronc riding? I mean, this is a journey because you were in hockey, weren't you?
Yeah. I played hockey ever since I was just a little guy up until until I was 18, almost 19. And my whole family is hockey players. Both my brothers my older brother still plays. And the younger brother just ended up quitting a few years ago after playing junior A in Canmore. And then my older brother plays for the Stockton Heat, so the Calgary Flames AHL team.
Wow.
And so it was kind of a big transition for me. Honestly, I didn't even know anyone in the sport at the time. And I just had always watched it and watched the Calgary Stampede. Having that as my hometown rodeo is unlike any other, really.
What happened though? Like you're playing hockey and all of a sudden you're watching this and said it hit. You're like, I want to ride a horse.
Yeah, pretty much. I just kind of thought I wanted to give it a try. And after I quit playing hockey, I've always been an athletic and competitive guy, and I've always needed something to want to work towards. So I kind of got the itch to try it. And then as soon as I tried it, I was hooked, and it just kind of took off from there. I mean, the first rodeo I ever entered, I won that and got a buckle right there. And then after that, it was kind of just like, holy, I can actually, make this work. And ended up going to a few more and went to the Calgary Stampede in the novice. I think it was my 8th rodeo. And ended up, didn't know anyone, didn't know anything about it, just went in and thought I'd give it a try and see. It was my first year and ended up winning. And that's kind of when everything went up from there. I ended up a good buddy of mine that I travel with and still talk to every day now, Jake Stemo. He was going to school down in Oklahoma. And he actually grew up playing hockey with my older brother a few times. And so I knew him. And then he got me in to go to school in Oklahoma, and everything just went from there.
Do you remember your first experience where there's thousands of fans out there just watching you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I mean, in Canada, like the Calgary Stampede for me, that was my 8th rodeo ever. Just walking out and seeing all the fans, 30,000 fans or however many there are in that grandstand. And just the atmosphere there is unlike any other, really. You talk to, even after now being like, whenever I first started, I would dream of going to the Rodeo Houston and the American and San Antonio and Reno, all the big ones, Pendleton and all those, and going to all those now and seeing what they're like. Having Calgary as my hometown rodeo is still always going to be, that's the one. That's my favorite. Just having that experience first starting was unbelievable. Just give the guy butterflies even thinking about it now.
When you come out of the chutes, what are you preparing for in your mind? How do you get ready?
Rodeo and bareback horses specifically is one of those things that you can only prepare so much. You can do everything in your power and gain as much confidence in what you've been doing, working out, eating right, trying to get as much sleep as you can, just preparing your body as much as you can to have that confidence to get on. But every time you get on, it's going to be different. Each horse has different moves and different tracks and different way they buck and how hard they leave the chute and how they act in the chutes. So it's one of those things that you always try to keep yourself prepared the same for no matter what horse you're getting on. You could be getting on the rankest horses in the world, which I've been lucky enough to get on a few times. And you try to keep your motor running the same for those as you do the ones that are a little bit easier. And it's just, you prepare as much as you can. It's all almost to the point where you try to stop thinking. You think that you want to think and react as much as possible, but you want to shut that down and let what you prepared to do come through, kind of thing. It's only an 8-second ride, and when they open the gate, anything can happen. So it's one of those things that you just do as much as you can to be ready for that.
It's crazy. Like you said, 8 seconds. You don't know what a second can cause. You could severely get injured. You could. Things can happen.
Yeah.
Have you been in the chute where you said, "Uh-oh, this horse is going to be an interesting one. This is going to be tough"? And do you know the horses beforehand?
Yeah. So usually when we enter a rodeo, we enter, anywhere from kind of 2 weeks to a month prior. And the bigger ones you'll know, and those are the ones that a little bit beforehand. But usually we don't get our draws back until, sometimes you get them the day before. Sometimes the odd time you'll get them right when you show up, and usually you get them, within a week of the rodeo. And we've got a thing called stock stats online, so you get your draw, the brand of the horse and the name of the horse, and you can kind of look them up. And for the most part, every horse will do kind of along the same lines with how they buck. They're athletes too, and they like to follow the same tracks and buck the same way. So you can kind of figure it out, ask your buddies. Everybody knows the horses, and you can usually, nowadays it's getting better, where you can usually find a video of them and kind of get to know the horse and what you're going to kind of want to prepare for. Like I said, you try to prepare the same, but there's obviously different ones. You get hoppers is what we call them, and they're the ones that bail up in the air, and they're a lot more fun to ride. It feels like you're just floating on a cloud whenever you're riding a hopper. And then you get those ones that we call the eliminators, and they're the more heavy and big and slow and kind of lumbering and hit you in the back real hard. And those are the ones that you definitely need to bear down for a lot more. So
do these horses have an energy that you guys share with one another, where you have to say,
"Oh yeah,
don't let me down"?
Yeah. And a lot of the times they know, they're smart animals.
Oh yeah.
That's how they survive so many years, like they know, and they can feel your energy. A lot of times you'll see when a guy gets really excited or really amped up, and it's impossible to not let your adrenaline take over when you're getting on. But kind of keep your body under that calm and just strong mindset of where you know your job and what you want to do, and not let your body take over, because it's going into like a fight or flight. You're getting onto a 1,500-pound animal, and they can feel that energy from you. So keeping yourself calm, especially in the chutes. The chute looks like the safest place to be because your horse is contained and you're getting on them, but that's the most dangerous place to be. You're surrounded by metal. So if they decide to smash you one way or backwards or whatever, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. You take that impact, and that's where the majority of the injuries come from, is when you're in the chute. So
can you steer the horse in a certain way? Like, is the goal to push them as far out as possible?
I mean, the goal is to keep them as close to the chutes as possible. The closer they are and the higher they're jumping in the air, and that's when you get those high scores. Is when they get long and start traveling away, they're not getting up in the air because they're moving so far ahead, and getting off the ground. So they don't look as flashy, and you don't get that big crack kick out the back. And that's really what helps you. The flank strap on a horse isn't to make them buck. It's to remind them to kick. So it's just like a belt around your waist. It's really loose in the chutes, and they can test it. So they pull the two sides of it together. They just want them to touch barely. So it's only tight enough that when they leave and they pull on the flank strap, it's just supposed to barely touch them, and just remind them. It would be like if you're wearing a belt and then you bend over and it's loose, and then you straighten out and it's a little bit tighter. So whenever they're down, it tightens up, and it reminds them to jump in the air and kick. And when a horse kicks, it allows them to land flat and stable and on all four legs, rather than when they jump up and they don't have that kick, they'll land on their back end, and that's when they can twist the leg or fall off balance or something like that. So really, that flank strap is just reminding them to get up in the air and kick. And you can really tell on some of them react more to it than others, and our spurs, and like that's the contractor's job, is they learn all of their horses. You go to any of these contractors down here, and they know for this horse they need to put the flank exactly this tight to get them to do their job properly. And some of them might need a little bit more, a little bit tighter, or some of them might need a little bit looser. And their goal is to get them to stay as close to the chutes and jump as high as they can. And we try to help them out with our spurs. You use your legs and you drag up their neck and then set your feet back into them. That's the whole goal of spur or the bareback riding, is your spur ride, and having your body under control while making it look as flashy as possible. So, pulling your legs up real high and kicking them out. That helps the horses too, for sure.
Is Canadian horses different than the American horses to ride and whatnot?
I mean, I'm always biased towards the Calgary Stampede as the number one contractors in the world. Excuse me. Just because, I mean, they are well known around the world. Like, anyone in the rodeo world knows the Calgary Stampede and their bucking stock and the breeding program that they've come with, and just what they've been able to put together throughout the years. That when the Calgary Stampede trailer pulls into a rodeo, you're getting on good horses every time. Right. And for the most part, everybody kind of knows the Canadian horses as the big, half Clydesdale, feather-footed, big horses, big boned, and they live outside in the wintertime up there. They've got the long hair, like they're kind of tough and big, and that's what everybody loves in our sport anyways. So
those are the Budweiser horses, aren't they?
Yeah, so they're mostly like kind of a mix between the both, between quarter horses and Clydesdale. Oh, okay. So you get those big hairy feet and the big bodies, and they're thick and tall, and they've got the thick necks on them and everything.
They're just beautiful, aren't they, though? Oh.
Yeah, definitely. I've always been such a fan of the horses as much as anything else.
You've been watching them at the Stampede, plowing at the Stampede?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and dragging and doing everything.
So, Connor, Is there a way to steer these horses when you come out of the chutes, or do they just do what they do and you guys just sit on there and just go for the ride?
There's really no way to stop them. And, I mean, you can try to help them. So we don't necessarily, you're not going to be able to steer one because they're doing their job. They're as much as an athlete as we are. Mm-hmm. They're fed and watered and taken care of every day. So they're trained to do what they do. They're not brought up and made to buck. If they don't want to buck, they're not going to buck. They'll turn out in the arena and just stand there or just walk around. They're not forced into doing it. So those horses that are the best bucking horses in the world, like, they're athletes and they know their trail. So they're gonna make those same tracks or close to it every time they leave that chute. They're gonna be, we have our chute set up sideways, so you got the right hand and the left hand deliveries, and they're gonna go out with the same one for the most part every single time. And that's just what they do. They're trained and brought up to, they're going to get as much help as they can to do their job the best that they can. Mm-hmm. And we just help them out with that. When you get on them, you try to treat them in the chute the best way that we can. And if they're squatting in there, you try to get them to stand up a little bit and stand square. So when they open that chute gate, they've got the best opportunity to buck their best as we do to ride our best. So it's more of a help thing, and you're not trying to force them to, move in a certain way or do anything with your feet. You're just trying to help them out to buck as much as they can, because they get 50% of the points and we get 50% of the points. So at the end of the day, you want your horse to get as many points for you as you can, and you get as many points for them as you can,
Oh, super cool.
So it's more like that.
When you
get them to do something. And then at the end of the ride, they know when that buzzer goes and the 8 second goes, they know, they start running, and the pickup men come and they'll trip that flank belt. Done, and they've done a good job, and they can just run, and you get off of them safely and hit the ground, and they run out of the arena. And I mean, that's when they know that their job's over.
Oh, that's super cool. Is your most memorable rides the horses that took you down, or is it the ones that you won?
I mean, kind of goes both ways, I guess. There's some ones that you're always going to remember as far as, your best ones, especially, or just up until now. Those are my best ones up until now, and I'm always going to love those ones. Okay. There's the ones that you'll remember, and of the ones that, you got bucked off or didn't do as good as you could. And those are kind of ones that, I want another shot at those horses. It's kind of, I mean, you don't get into the game unless you're competitive. I've always been a competitive guy, and if a horse gets me down or beats me this day, I want another shot at that. And I'll always remember those ones too. So you remember the highs and you remember your lows, and you try to get those lows into highs as quickly as possible.
Now, you guys are both athletes, the horse and yourself. Are you guys competing with each other or together or against each other?
I always look at it as, a lot of guys, and everybody kind of thinks, it's more of a you versus the horse thing. But whenever I see it, I view it as more of a, me with the horse. Like, we're teaming up to do this together. Like, if he helps me out to win this money, that's good for them as well. So, at least in my mind, I'm always trying to put myself on the same team as the horse, and kind of, I'm thinking like, let's do this thing today. If I'm nervous or a little bit more antsy than other times, I always try to just put it's a big mental thing for sure. Getting on the back of a bucking horse is never easy. So you kind of tell yourself and talk yourself into thinking a certain way that helps you do your job. So I always try to tell myself, like, especially when there's a horse that you might be a little more nervous about getting on, like, we're teaming up today, so let's, go out and have fun and just have a good day. And hopefully they do their job and you do your job and it works out well, rather than thinking about, you're wanting to beat this horse and it's a fight between you two. It's more of a dance, Like, such a long time ago.
Doesn't it? Like, geez.
I was telling my buddy that the other day, like, I was thinking, when we were driving down, I was like telling him, a lot of guys that I still rodeo with now don't really know how I got into it. And they asked me, and I'm like, it seems like my life before what I do now is like, it's hard to even picture doing that, playing hockey and going to school in Calgary. I've just kind of transformed, taken such a 180 since then that it's kind of, I don't even remember the year I graduated, it's kind of like one of those things. Whenever I started rodeo, and it was like, that was all I thought about 24/7 for, it's been 5-6 years now. It just seems crazy.
What is the time frame for someone to be riding? Like, is there, I don't know, by the time you're 35, you slow down.
Yeah. And I mean, that's one of those things that is limited by, injuries and a family and stuff like that. A lot of guys will have an injury, or, you kind of grow up and have a family and kind of, start moving forward in your life. And a lot of guys can make it work and do really good. And a lot of guys, just kind of dwindle off a little bit and decide that it's not what you want to do, because it is such a hard thing on your body, and you spend a lot of time away from home, and you're on the road, and it's a big commitment. And rodeo and professional bareback riding, everything, rodeo in general, is you have to be fully committed. It's one of those things that I've always thought, if you're not all in, you better be all out, because if you're kind of part-time in it, you're only going to end up spending money and time traveling and, a lot of stress and it's a lot of, mentally tiring on you to be on the road constantly and get on bucking horses. And if you're not one of those guys that's going to be all in for it, it's going to be, at least for me anyways, if I feel like I'm not fully invested and fully into it, that's going to be my time to step away. And I mean, I've always been fully invested. I've always loved it since I started, and it's been one of those things that when I know that my time has come, and that's kind of with anything, that's when it'll be. So I'm hoping to rodeo until I'm 35, and I don't want to be one of those guys that pushes it too far, and you get hurt, or you start your downfall, and then nobody remembers the highs from your career. But I'm hoping to do it as long as I can and stay as healthy as I can. And, if I continue the way that I am now and, work out and take care of myself, and the guys that I travel with now are really good into that too. So it makes it a lot easier for us to, do that. And you got, they've both been to that 7, 8, 9 times, and they know the game just as well as anyone. And it's so good for me to be able to travel with them and learn from them. That's kind of the biggest thing. And they're both a few years older than me, and they have seen the start of their careers and moving towards, more of the end. And it's just good for me to learn from them and see what they've done and how they've taken care of themselves and made it to where they are, and use that to my advantage now.
Who has been a mentor to you, or who are some of the mentors and athletes you look up to in your industry?
Oh man, there's so many. Since the time that I started, I've had, there was a time there when I literally didn't even know what gear I needed to buy. And, I've reached out to a few people, and Dave Shields Jr., he was one of the guys that when I first started, he kind of took that time and helped me out, and I could call him for advice. And I went to one of his rodeo schools, and Matt Late and Alan Gossick, they held a rodeo school that I went to and helped me out. And, there's been so many people, especially because I didn't know anything coming into it, that have took the time to help me out. I've been so fortunate and so lucky, and, getting the opportunity to go to school in Oklahoma, even though I didn't, graduate, make it through and graduate. It was one of those things that I went down and started rodeoing and college rodeo and met a few guys, and just really pointed all of my focus towards making it on the pro rodeo circuit, and ended up going that direction. But just going there, and Coach Mike Wisniewski there, just taking the time to get me there and allowing me to meet so many people and gain these connections, from Jake Stemo, Justin Paul Miller there I traveled with, and and then I had the opportunity to go the last few years with Clint Lay, and every year I learned so many things, and have so many people put time into me. And, I mean, I'm always grateful and feel blessed all the time just to have that opportunity. And Clint ended up moving up to Calgary or Canada last year. Sorry, and he's kind of ended up getting hurt, and with COVID and everything, he's building a house, and so now I've got the opportunity to go with Caleb Bennett and Richie Champion, and they're two guys that when I first started rodeo, and I would watch YouTube videos and try to teach myself how to ride. And Richie, the year before I started, he won $1 million in one rodeo at the American. And I've always thought that was just the most unbelievable thing. And I remember watching the videos of that when I first started. Now having the opportunity to go with a guy like that, and Caleb, who's the director of the bareback riding, and been to the NFR 8 times, and won so many things. And I think about, and we talk about it all the time, I feel like I'm pumping their tires, but I'm like, man, remember this ride from back in the day, and watched it. And I always thought you guys were so influential, and now having the chance to go with them, it blows my mind. And I think about it and just think about how grateful I am for that opportunity every day. I mean, even outside of rodeo, people that have helped me out, my sponsors, and Cal Lensel, Shane Holmes, and Brad Shaw, a good friend of mine. Just having that opportunity to work with people like that, I can never be thankful enough for it. And
you're such a passionate Calgarian, passionate Albertan, and you represent, our city, our province, and our nation. Why has the sponsors been so amazing to you?
Well, it's one of those things that, there's a lot of sports out there that, you make a living and you make money doing your sport, but rodeo is one of those things that it's a pay to play. So we pay an entry fee every time we enter rodeo. We're on our own. We feed ourselves and put our own gas in our truck and drive our own vehicles, and live out of our campers and hotels, and buying flights and taking care of ourselves, really. So you make that money when you win, but when you go through a time where maybe you're not drawing the best horses, or kind of having a little bit of a rough week, and you're not winning money, you're just spending it, And so it's one of those things that having the money coming in from rodeoing, it's always going to be good, and you might make a lot and you might not make a lot, but having those sponsors that can help you, if you can find sponsors that can make it so that you don't have to pay anything for that season, and everything that you make can come in, that to me is where you start to get ahead, really, other than any other sport where, the money that you make is yours, and everything, they take care of you, and everything else just is, you don't have to worry about. So rodeo is one of those things that sponsorships and all of that are so important and so huge for us. So, I've always been really lucky since I first started to be really just blessed with great sponsors, and always had such a great relationship with my sponsors that it's made it to where it's really just been like, I've been so thankful just to have that relationship and be able to talk to them and have them want to help me out and, get me down the road, and been really excited to see what I can do and where I've come from and where I've gotten to. And I feel really lucky to be from Calgary to have that opportunity. A lot of guys from smaller towns don't really have that opportunity to have the connections and everything that I've been lucky to have.
I mean, are you ever looking for more sponsors?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, well, that's one of those things that I try to take as my job. My job is, I'm a professional bareback rider. So that's my job. I get on, I ride, travel, do the rodeos. But in my time when I'm not getting on bucking horses, I try to focus my time on doing whatever I can for my sponsors and trying to find new ones. That's where you make that extra money that's gonna, go into buying your ranch and helping you live, really.
most people don't realize this is you, Connor, do some amazing things for your sponsors. You actually will go to their Christmas parties and you'll speak with their guests and you'll entertain and enjoy conversations with people on behalf of your sponsors, which is phenomenal.
Yeah. And that's been the first thing I've always said is, if you're doing a volunteer event, let me know. I would love to come out and do that. Or love to come and, especially during Stampede time in Calgary, I'm lucky to have that. And a lot of companies hold, Stampede breakfasts or parties or whatever they're doing. And, I love that. I love getting people that aren't from the rodeo world into the rodeo world. I was that one day myself, so I know how it is. I always watched the Stampede and watched rodeo and thought, man, I would love to know more about that. Yeah. And a lot of people kind of feel like they come from the city. I don't know anything about it. I don't fit in. I don't belong. Well, ask questions. Like, that's what I love. Like, I love when a sponsor wants me to come do a signing or come talk with, their employees or their customers or whatever it is, whatever type of company it is, and ask me questions. Like, I love to answer questions. I know how it was not knowing anything about it. And if I had someone like myself to ask, I would have taken advantage of that. And I just want everybody to know that it's, if you don't know anything about it, like, feel free to ask. That's the thing. Like, I love talking about it just as much as anything.
And you have some great
that's one of the things that I've always taken into perspective and just wanted to make sure that they know is I want to build that relationship with my sponsors and have that opportunity to go and talk with their clients and their employees and do that, because I feel like that's very important.
No, absolutely. And having sponsors like Shane Wenzel from Shane Homes or Cal Wenzel, the entire team behind you, they do some amazing things in our city for our community. And to see that on you shows that, there's integrity there, there's values, ethics, hard work and determination can really get you to the next level. So, you guys are very much parallel on that path of hard work and determination.
Definitely, I've always been lucky for them to support me and help me out, but just having their names on my shirt gives me that much more credibility and gratefulness, and I've got a company like that on my shirt. It just makes me feel that much better. Like, I've got these people backing me that are so good for the community and do so much and put so much time into it that it makes me want to be a better person as well.
Now let's talk about a little bit about the Stampede.
Yeah.
You train for that. It's the cream of the crop for our city. Last year, just like so many, everyone was derailed from what they do best, what they trained for, what they worked so hard for. So much was put on pause and continues to do so. How difficult was it for you to not do the Calgary Stampede and entertain and train and work so hard for what you do?
It was a really tough year last year for everyone. So, it's kind of one of those things that I can be down and, obviously the Calgary Stampede is, not really happy and I'm not happy about it, but, it was a tough year and everybody was kind of in the same boat, and it's hard for me to, kind of complain about it and want to, not be too happy about it. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that are a lot worse off than me, and not having the Stampede for 1 year is, it sucks. And I love that rodeo. I look forward to it year after year, but I can only say so much because the whole world was in the same boat. And
did you find some positives? You had time to train, or you had time to work on yourself in the interim?
Yeah, definitely. And I had some bad luck there. In 2019, I ended up tearing off my adductor tendon in my groin at the Calgary Stampede. They took really good care of me and got me in to see one of the best surgeons in Calgary, and had that repaired within a week. And I ended up having to take 6 months off. But so it was kind of tough right when I was coming back after my 6 months. That's when COVID hit and everything got shut down. And it was kind of a bummer, but at the same time, it did give me that time to, work on my passion And so it did give me that time to train and that time to really, it's more than just your body, it's mentally too. And so giving me that time with the year off and having the Stampede and everything, it was not great, but at the same time, it was a good thing. It gave me the opportunity to work on myself. And really, since I started rodeoing, I haven't taken my foot off the gas pedal. It's been go, 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 go all the time. So having a year like that kind of brought everything back into perspective and made me be more thankful for what I get to do and, the opportunity that I have and everybody supporting me and made me want it even more, really. So I think there's positives that can come from it, as much as it was negative for everybody and kind of a tough time. There's always positives that you can take from it.
Connor, if someone wants to get a hold of you or perhaps look at a sponsorship deal with you, where do they go and how can they get this started?
For the most part, I always keep my phone close to me when I'm traveling. There's a lot of times when I have my Instagram and my social media and my Facebook and honestly, I don't think I have my phone number or my email listed out anywhere. I should actually put that on there.
Could people Instagram message you or direct message you?
100%. I'm always,
okay.
I was going to say, I'm always open to messages. And if anyone has any comments, I love to just have a chat. If anyone's interested or, wants to do that, I'm always available to talk and, email or text message or phone call or Zoom chat or whatever it is, and that's one of the things that I've always been felt valued so much is having a relationship with these people that have taken their time and their money and wanted to help me out. I take my time and, put so much value in building a relationship with these people. I don't want to just take your money and not talk to you and it helps me out, but at the end of the day, I don't gain anything from that. I want to have a relationship with you. If you're going to help me out, that's what I really value. So having the time to have a Zoom chat or have a phone call or, have a text or I can send, I love to send pictures and videos and, update everyone on how things are going because they've helped me out and I do as much as I can to help them out too. So
speaking of photos and videos, my gosh, on your Instagram feed, the mechanical horse that you ride.
Yeah.
Where is that? Holy, that gives me a whiplash watching you, by the way.
Yeah, and that's like the easy version, We bought that a few years back and a few of us that are around Calgary. And I mean, it's a great tool to have to, work on what we do and build those muscles. And, you can only do so much in the gym. It's like any other sport, you go and you practice playing hockey and then you go and work out in the gym to build your physical fitness, but it's all those sport specific muscles. So having that bucking machine is unbelievable, being able to get on that a few times a week when you're training to get on bucking horses that's the best thing you can do. And it looks aggressive and looks pretty quick and like it's a fight, but at the end of the day, that's where I go to do my training without the opportunity to get hurt,
Okay. Now, people don't realize how many micro muscles you guys are training. It's not just core and your biceps. It's literally these, like you said, these little detailed muscles. Yeah. How important is nutrition and mental strength?
Oh, those are two things that get undermined a lot of the time because, you look at a guy and you think, oh, he's strong and fit and all this. And that's one thing that you can see a difference in. But nutrition and your mental health and your mental, your ability to control your mind really is one of the most important things for us, taking care of our body. At the end of the day, we'll live out of a truck and a camper for a month at a time, going to event after event, driving, 12 hours going to a rodeo, hopping directly back in the truck, driving another 12 hours, riding, you might have a day off, and then getting back in the truck and going again. So having that ability to, train your mind and eat right, we're not living at home going back and forth